I got my first cowboy boots almost 20 years ago. God, I'm old. And I wore these things so much, they're still going after 7 resoles, a new welt, several heel cap replacements. But there are 3 things after wearing boots for so long that I wish I knew ahead of time before getting these boots. And if I knew all of the stuff that I know now, I probably wouldn't get these boots today as my first cowboy boot. But let's break all that down and more in today's video.
I'm just here to connect ya, and then I'll be on my way.
Hey everybody, my name is Jeremiah Craig. Welcome back to the channel. But if this is your first time here, please subscribe. I do lots of videos about cowboy boots, boot reviews, jeans, clothes that go with cowboy boots, folk music videos, a bunch of stuff. It's really fun here, and if you haven't subscribed yet, please do so. I got my first pair of cowboy boots when I had just graduated high school around 2006. I wanted a pair of shoes that actually lasted more than 6 months. I'd be running through sneakers like crazy, and sneakers never did last me very long, being from the country, running around in the woods and stuff. So I wanted a pair of boots, and mainly I was looking for some repairable features, which is why cowboy boots were so attractive to me. They could be repaired. I know there's several other kinds of shoes that can be repaired as well, but they're not even close to as cool as a cowboy boot is. So after my brother got his first pair of cowboy boots, I thought maybe I should get a pair too, and I ended up with these here. This is a Boulay 7031. And the first thing that I would do different, knowing everything that I know now about cowboy boots, is I would get my right size. This is not my correct size. In fact, it was very painful to break in. I still have like little calluses or whatever those buildups are on the outside of your toes because this was too tight down here. The width was okay, but I just needed a longer boot. Technically, I'm a 12B. I have a narrow width size, but there's a lot of companies that don't make narrow width sizes anymore. So I ended up with an average size, an average width size, which was equivalent to a B width at a 12 size, but this is a 11 or 10 and a half. Boulay calls it 10 and a half, but it is basically an 11. So that led me to wearing this boot around and getting my toes cramped up here. You can see how much it kind of bulges out the side here, right? So it's bulging way over that welt. So this boot was good width for me down here, but it ended too short. So I needed a longer boot, which caused this break-in period to be very, very painful. But once they were broken in, it was great. And that was one of the myths that I was subjected to. Cowboy boots are painful to break in. They're not. And if I was to do it again, I would be sure to get my right size. There's something called a Brannock device. So you can set yourself up on one of these and get measured, and you can see your actual shoe size here, but you also need to take note of the width over here. It'll tell you exactly what the width is based off of your number that you come in at over here. So when you do get your exact width size, so I come out to be a 12B here, then get a 12B cowboy boot. People will size you in different stores and say, oh, we don't have that width, but this one will work. Whenever they say that, don't buy a boot from them. It won't. Get your true size. That's the whole point of a Brannock device, is so that you get your true size, and then the cowboy boot companies are supposed to make those sizes the same size as the Brannock device. That's the whole point of the whole thing. So you should get your true size when you are on a Brannock device. Now there are some companies who might have a little bit of a discrepancy, might go half size down, might go half size up, and that's kind of few and far between, especially if you are going with vintage boots. The next thing I wish I knew going into it before I got my first pair of cowboy boots was how quickly a leather outsole can actually wear through. So if you get a leather sole cowboy boot and you're wearing it every single day because you love the feel of cowboy boots, you're gonna run through that leather outsole maybe 6 months, maybe a year. Same thing with the rubber heel cap. So once you run through that leather outsole, you're gonna want to get a resole real quick. You don't wanna run it all the way through the insole too, because then that repair is gonna cost that much more and it might not even be worth doing. So then you're gonna have to throw out your cowboy boots at that point. And then what's the point of even having a repairable boot if you make them so expensive to repair that you can just buy a new pair? So it takes about 6 to 12 months to run through a leather outsole if you're wearing them every day. You can push off the wear by getting more cowboy boots and making a rotation. A lot of us cowboy boot collectors and enthusiasts have a rotation of cowboy boots, and that will definitely keep the wear a little bit more spread out, because if you're wearing a boot every single day, it wears out faster than if you give it time to rest. So you'll get a lot more wear out of a pair of cowboy boots if you have another one to wear as well. So if you do get a leather outsole cowboy boot, you can put a sole saver on there, and that will definitely save the sole, which is the whole purpose and name of it. It's a little strip of rubber that you put on there, and once that rubber runs through, you can put another one on there, and you may never need to do a resole. Another thing that happens quite frequently with boots around the $150 to $350 price range is that if you get them really wet, they might separate from the welt. So that will need a resole as well. And this happens because the factory didn't let the glue cure long enough for it to be sticky and actually be secure to the boot. They got a lot of boots to make at these factories, guys, and there's no time to waste because time is money. So what they'll do is they'll line up a bunch of boots and they'll glue them all. They'll glue them all down, and then they'll come back to the beginning and then start pressing the boots. But the ones at the beginning didn't have as long of a time to cure as the ones at the end, because they're working on all these boots, which takes time, and then by the time they get to the end, of course those boots have cured long enough, but the ones at the beginning did not. So if you get them wet, then they can separate because the glue didn't cure for long enough. It's a very common thing, and that could happen within 3 months, or within just a couple of weeks of having the boots if you were unlucky enough to get them soaked through. And that happens quite frequently, so don't be surprised if that happens to your boots if your sort of budget range is between $150 and $350 on a pair of cowboy boots with a leather outsole. It doesn't happen so much with rubber outsoles. With a rubber outsole cowboy boot, though, you can get, a year and a half, maybe 2 years of wear. It really extends the life of a cowboy boot, and you can still get them resoled. So if you're looking for a lot of wear, a lot of tough wear without trying to get a resole, rubber soles are the way to go. And the third and final thing that I wish I knew before I got my first pair of boots was the value of slightly used boots. Guys, this is like my thing now. You can get incredible deals on eBay, Shop Goodwill, Facebook Marketplace, plenty of other places as well, vintage stores. Used boots is where it's at. But not just used boots, because when you say used, it's like, ugh, like they've been worn a lot. No, I mean slightly used boots. So that's like the sweet spot. So I recently just got this pair of Dan Post Lizard boots for $13 off of shopgoodwill.com. And it has its original outsole, and you can still see the logo in the heel cap. So these boots are still basically brand new. Same thing with a vintage pair of boots that I got recently off of eBay. These are a special pair of Mexican-made boots from the Don Quixote factory, made in 1983. These are Cristobal Romero boots, bullhide boots, and I spent $200 to get these ones, but they are way better and much higher quality than any boot that I would be able to get modern, new, for $200. So the amount of cowboy boots that you can get on the secondhand marketplace and actually get your true size too at incredible deals is amazing. If I was to start my cowboy boot journey again, I would start it in the slightly used marketplace, because I can get basically practically new boots that are sometimes vintage for $13, maybe $200 at most for just a regular cowhide boot, depending on how it was made and who made it, that's where I would start my journey. And then also, it's not as much of a huge investment. Like you go to some of these places, say a Takova's store, and they fit you, but they don't have all of the widths and sizes, so they're most likely fitting you wrong, and you leave there after spending $400, and then later, like when you're wearing the boots all day, they hurt. That's not a good sign. Instead, you can go to some of these secondhand marketplaces, Shop Goodwill, eBay, and more, and spend very little on a boot that you think is the right size, but if it's not, big deal. You lost 20, 30 bucks. At least you can start trying boots for less of a price to then know exactly how you like your fit and exactly the size that you need. That's where it's at. And those are the 3 things that I wish I knew before I bought my first pair of cowboy boots. But what about you guys? I know you guys have things in the back of your mind where you're like, I like my first pair of cowboy boots, and I do. I really like this pair. It's still so romantic to me. All the memories that I have in this cowboy boot. But there's still things that some of us out there would do differently, and I want to know your things that you would do differently in the comments, so people coming through trying to get their first pair of cowboy boots know what to look for. Not even just the 3 that I listed, but yours as well. So let's help people's cowboy boot journey start off on the right foot. That just happened. I like that. I love you guys so much. Please subscribe while you're here if you haven't yet, and I'll catch you in the next one. Peace.
Well, I love my first cowboy boots, but I'd do it different if I could. I'd get my right size and buy used, 'cause it's just as good, if not better. Speaking of used cowboy boots, why don't you check out this playlist up here, where I got a bunch of them. Or I got a music video down here I think you might enjoy. Don't forget to subscribe, and I will see you next time. Peace. Have a good one.